Welcome to another episode of Nac Edition. I'm your host, Elena Barnes. We'll be taking a look at some important news from around Nacogdoches and the SFA campus, sit down with the lead jackwalker, Callie Menard, to discuss what it takes to be a jackwalker, and get a recap from the spring game that took place this past weekend. Nac Edition starts right now. Election Day is May 1st. Citizens of Nacogdoches are voting for city council members and the mayor of Nacogdoches, although candidate Jimmy Mize is unopposed. Current mayor Shelley Brophy has chosen not to run this year. On the ballot are school board members for Nacogdoches ISD, where the candidates are Mindy Bean Winslow and Tammy Spake. On the ballot for city council are Garth Hines and Kathleen Bellinger for the Northeast Ward, and Amelia Fisher and Albert Thomas Lassiter for the Northwest Ward. However, Lassiter was recently declared ineligible for city council due to living outside city limits. Despite this, his name will remain on the ballot. In the case that he receives more votes than incumbent Amelia Fisher, the city council would have to appoint a temporary council person until another election is held. In-person early voting ended on April 27th, and voting will take place at the Courthouse Annex at 203 West Main Street. Additional information about local elections can be found at nacvotes.com. For STEM students who are looking for a career in teaching science and mathematics, Stephen F. Austin State University has just received a national grant in order to help with their futures. SFA students following a career in teaching science and mathematics will benefit from a $1.4 million collaborative grant from the National Science Foundation. The grant is offered through SFA's Talented Teachers in Training program and the SFA College of Sciences and Mathematics. Students considering teaching will shadow a trained master in a classroom and receive a stipend of $450 per week if selected. Students will also be able to participate in a variety of mentoring and recruiting activities. More than 100 SFA students have already benefited from the program since its inception in 2011. For more information on SFA's College of Science and Mathematics, call 936-468-2805. Student journalists at Stephen F. Austin have gained statewide recognition by recently winning as many as 17 awards from the Texas Intercollegiate Press Association for their work on 2020 campus student publications. 8 of those awards coming from the Stone Fort Yearbook, which includes 2 first-place awards in the cover design and photo story categories. SFA graduate Russell Zaradnik, who was the editor-in-chief, took the honors for the cover design, while the other first-place honor went to Cameron Keplinger for photo story. The Pine Log newspaper won as many as 9 awards from TIPA, with 5 of those awards being as high as second place. With award nominations being submitted on February 2020, it is said that many of the publications resemble a time capsule of what SFA was like before the pandemic. To get a complete list of all the award winners and honorable mentions that was won by the Stephen F. Austin students, visit sfasu.edu/newsroom. If you are struggling to find an internship on campus or in the Nacogdoches community, the SFA Center for Career and Professional Development is willing to help guide you through the process. Here's Sam Hackett with more information.
Many businesses and corporations have been feeling the financial toll of the COVID-19 pandemic, resulting in layoffs and other cutbacks. Now SFA students and other college students are feeling these same effects as they look for summer internships.
Many college students are struggling to find summer internships as the job market continues to be unstable.
It's a little hard. COVID has definitely taken its toll on the internship process.
Students like senior accounting major Austin Olivas say that COVID has dried up many of the opportunities they would typically have.
Finding employers, I think there's a scarcity of employment opportunities for just graduates right now.
But there are resources for students who feel lost in the internship and job search, such as the Center for Career and Professional Development on the 3rd floor of the Rusk building.
I would say the modality of the internships has changed a lot of times.
Jamie Bolden is the director for the Center for Career and Professional Development and says the CCPD has many resources for students who feel stuck in their job search.
So with the Center for Career and Professional Development, students have access to free career coaching, which includes job and internship search assistance. Students also can utilize our services to get their resumes looked over. A lot of students, will create a resume and then just start sending it out and they don't get feedback on it. And we want students setting themselves up to be successful in those internship searches.
Alongside all the resources, Bolden also offers this insight.
I think that employers are going to be very understanding of that opportunities were taken away and that it's just, we keep saying it's been a weird year, and employers are understanding of that. I think that students who are going to stand out in this process are the students that said, okay, well, that happened and it was unfortunate, but then this is what else I did.
As the world starts to get back on its feet, hopefully the job market follows suit. For Nac Edition, I'm Sam Hackett.
Administered by the SFA Alumni Association and Office of Development, the Mr. and Miss SFA Award is awarded to 2 outstanding SFA students during their senior year. As a memorial to Mr. Stan McEwen, class of 34, and in honor of Mrs. Arnodian Coven, class of 43 and 72, the students awarded Mr. and Miss SFA are selected based on scholarship, participation and leadership in academic and co-curricular activities, and service and loyalty to the university. The recipients of the award are exemplary students who are capable of well representing the university, the SFA way, and the Nacogdoches community. The Mr. and Miss SFA Award recipients have just been announced. Congrats to Callie Menard and Larry Menifee. A public presentation will take place in conjunction with the Lumberjack football homecoming game in the fall of 2021. Have you ever heard about the Pantry on campus? Its primary purpose is to lead the way in the reduction of food on campus through identifying and raising awareness of campus-specific needs. Here's Josh Good with more information.
The Baker Patillo Student Center here at SFA holds plenty of resources for SFA students. One such resource is the Pantry, which allows students easy access to food essentials. Let's open up the cabinet doors and see what the Pantry has to offer.
Located on the 3rd floor of the Student Center, inside the Student Affairs Commons, the Pantry aims to help reduce food insecurity at SFA.
The Pantry is our resource for students who may need a meal or may feel a little bit food insecure. Food insecurity is when people may not know where their next meal is coming from. Students that primarily that live off campus may deal with that a little bit more. They may be rationing their whole pantry food at home, and they may say, I'm eating a little bit less so my food can last me longer. So we offer students 2 weeks boxes so they can come and get vegetables, fruits, all their nutrients that they may need, and it's all non-perishable, so you can keep it in the shelf as long as you need it.
Another way the Pantry is helping students is through the offering of baby-related products and supplies.
We're contacted by Organization for Women's Leadership and Equity, and they said that there was a need for baby products for students. Diapers is the biggest thing that we need, wipies. We could also use baby bottles, pacifiers. We added a question to the Pantry request form saying, if you need any baby products, click yes, and schedule a meeting time for them to pick out whatever baby products that they may need. It's really all about making sure that students have what they need when they need it, and as often as they need it.
If you would like to donate items or volunteer at the Pantry, or would like to request assistance, visit sfasu.edu/studentaffairs/1319.asp.
Graduation is just around the corner for the spring 2021 graduates. All graduates are expected to wear their cap and gown and formal attire. Cap and gowns may be ordered through the Herff Jones website. Black or dark colored slacks and dress shoes are recommended, and ladies are encouraged to wear black or dark slacks, skirts, or dresses. The ceremony will take place at the William R. Johnson Coliseum. This semester, the ceremonies will be in person, but graduates are only allowed to invite 6 guests each. SFA intends on keeping the tradition of students shaking Dr. Scott Gordon's hand even with COVID-19 restrictions in place. All the information in order to get the students prepared for the spring's 2021 graduation ceremony has been online. For more information on this semester's graduation, you can visit sfasu.edu. Stay right with us. After the break, we'll be sitting down with lead jackwalker Callie Menard to talk about what it takes to be a lead jackwalker and the jackwalkers as a whole. Welcome back to Nac Edition. In the studio with me today, we have lead jackwalker Callie Menard. We're excited to have you on the show. Thanks for visiting us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited and intimidating to be here. This is the coolest setup y'all have, so I'm really excited.
Awesome. Well, so to get things started, for people not quite familiar with what a jackwalker is, can you elaborate on the role of a jackwalker and who they are?
Yes, of course. Jackwalkers are campus tour guides. So plain and simple, we give a tour once a week. So I have Fridays at 2 are my tour times, which I give an hour hour to an hour and a half tour, depending on how fast I walk, to new prospective students of SFA. We just talk about our experience. We're storytellers, so we love to tell why we came to SFA and why we love this place.
So what made you want to become a Jack Walker?
Well, I'd come on a campus tour my junior year, and I had absolutely loved the campus, you know, the people, and it was really my tour guide who just really made me see myself here at SFA. So she was a big reason why I ended up coming here. And so my freshman year, I applied to be a Jack Walker, and it was just like completely on a whim. You know, I was like, oh, I'll try out, see what happens. And there was over 100 applicants, and 5 of us got selected. And it was the craziest experience ever. And I just really wanted to give back to the SFA community and just tell prospective students why I love SFA.
So like you just mentioned, how your Jack Walker, whenever you were touring campus, was a huge impact on your decision making.
Yes, most definitely.
So incoming freshmen, they look up to the Jack Walkers, basically kind of what you just said. So they play a big role in the final decision. What's something you do or say whenever you're giving tours to get incoming freshmen, even parents, excited that their student could, or their kid will potentially be a lumberjack?
Oh, most definitely. I think we talk about, you know, involvement. We talk about small campus and small class sizes, and that's really appealing to a lot of students. And then professor involvement and the hands-on experience you receive here at SFA is a really big thing. But I always like to wrap up my tours with why I ended up here at SFA. So I tell my story about how, you know, it was a complete accident. I really ended up here. My mom applied for me because I was planning on going to another school. And so I just ended up coming here because that school had fallen through. And I love to talk about how within like the first 2 weeks, it was the most exciting experience ever because I realized this is the place I was supposed to be all along. So I think that's definitely something that hits home with a lot of seniors who are stressed and they're not really sure where they're supposed to be and they don't really know what their plan is. So just explain to them that, you know, it's all going to be okay and then it all works out in the end is really relieving to incoming students and then also to parents also.
All right, so the Jack Walker reputation is life changers. So can you elaborate more on what that means to Jack Walkers?
Yes, so our Jack Walker motto is Jack Walkers life changers. And so when I first became a Jack Walker, I was like, this is really cheesy, why do we say this? And it's really because we have the opportunity to really change lives and change people's perspectives about SFA because, you know, a lot of students will come in, you know, they've got their dream college somewhere else and they're just on this tour because their parents dragged them. I've got an hour and a half to change their mind and really get them to look at SFA in a new perspective. And really, when you think about it, college is such a defining experience in your life. It really makes you into the person you're going to be. And so convincing someone to attend SFA and explaining why SFA will make them into the best person that they can be is just a really awesome, life-changing experience. So we always joke as Jack Walkers, you know, we are life changers, but really Jack Walker has changed us. I've met my best friends through the program and met some of my favorite mentors and really have grown as a SFA student and leader through the program. So it really comes back and hits you the other way too.
So how would you say it changed your life?
I definitely would say, you know, I came in as a really young, naive freshman, and the program saw something in me that I really didn't even see in myself yet. So, of course, we built my communication skills, my leadership skills, but then also just built my understanding of humans and the fact that everyone comes from different places and everyone has different backgrounds, so how you speak to people matters. And just learning that has just really been an amazing experience. Along with that, I've met student leaders on campus that I would have never met if I hadn't joined Jack Walkers, and just becoming friends with everyone and learning from their leadership and then them learning from mine has just also been a really gratifying experience too.
So what's your favorite memory of being a part of the Jack Walker program?
I definitely think we have retreats, which are really fun. It's kind of like 48 hours will teach you how to be a Jack Walker, and you just become like an SFA encyclopedia in this time. But also, we're so exhausted and so tired after giving like 10 mock tours on campus that it's just kind of like crackhead energy. And so just getting really close with the Jack Walker community and, you know, really just loving on each other is just one of the best experiences ever. So, you know, I've got a lot of participation in a lot of orgs, but I've always called Jack Walkers my home because I know that they accept me unapologetically, even in my worst moments, my goofiest moments, my craziest moments. So there are always some really funny memories that associate with them.
So you just said Jack Walkers are kind of like walking encyclopedias.
Yes.
So connecting that with like knowledge and history of the campus, What's your favorite tradition here? at
My
SFA?
favorite tradition is probably ring dip ceremony. I'm actually participating in it this week, so I've always hyped it up on my tours. But my parents actually, they promised they would pay for my SFA class ring if I stuck with the major for more than a year. So I've changed my major about 10 times. But this is the time that I finally have stuck with a major for over a year, so I get my ring this week. So I always hype it up on my tours and talk about it at Surf and Steve, but this week I actually get to participate in it. So I'm really excited.
So you're a lead Jack Walker,
Yes.
which you were just selected to be one, so congratulations.
Thank you. It was the craziest experience.
Yeah, so what's the biggest difference of a lead Jack Walker compared to just like a regular Jack Walker?
Yes, well, for your average Jack Walker, you've got your weekly tours. We have showcase Saturdays and retreats and meetings that we attend. But the lead Jack Walkers, it's basically the liaison between the admissions office, which is kind of our bosses for Jack Walkers, and the Jack Walkers. So they run the meetings. They have office hours. They're doing vet checks to make sure that our Jack Walkers are still up to date on everything, and they're doing a great job. But they're just kind of that moral support compass for our Jack Walkers to make sure that they're doing good, they feel good, and then also communicating with the Office of Admissions and make sure that we're doing everything possible for them. So it's a really awesome position to kind of be more behind the scenes with Jack Walkers.
So what's one of the new responsibilities that you've taken on?
Well, I've been training this whole week, so I've really enjoyed it. But I actually have been able to sit in or walk in on 3 Jack Walkers tours. And so I would never have that experience as I was just, your general Jack Walker, because I'm busy doing my own tours, don't have time for anyone else's. But now I have a lot of time throughout the week that I can go and take my clipboard and go on tour with some other Jack Walkers. And it's just really awesome to hear their tour experience and their perspective of SFA. And it's very awesome to know that we just chose such great people to be leaders on campus for tours.
So speaking of tours, what does a typical tour day look like for a Jack Walker?
Typical tour, you get on the mat is what we call it, 30 minutes early. So you get ready, getting water bottles together, welcoming families, and then you start off your tour. Of course, you've got your basic stops around campus, library, Surf and Steve. There's about 8 stops. And so we all have our Jack Walker spiel where we know the facts and figures of each stop. But then we also have that time in between stops is really where you shine as a Jack Walker, because you could give your average tour, and every university does that, but making connections with your family and learning your students' names, their major, explaining why they would love SFA and why you love it is really what takes our program a step above a lot of other colleges' programs. So we like to say, we're not just Jack Walkers, we're storytellers. We tell every stop I have a funny story, and every stop I talk about something new, and it just really keeps it's an hour and a half of my version of SFA show.
What's one of your funny stories?
Well, this might be illegal, but in the STEM building, my freshman year, I always like to talk about the STEM building. It's science, math, and sometimes it can be a little overwhelming for prospective students. So I talk about how my freshman year, the STEM building opened 2018, and it was brand new. And so a lot of times rules are put into place when someone does something that rules need to be put in place for. So my freshman year, I figured out that, library closes at 12 o'clock, they come through, security sweeps everyone out, you get kicked out. But in the STEM building, we could stay till 2 in the morning and no one would ever kick us out. So we decided to take that a few steps further and host weekend retreats in the STEM building. So we became friends with the custodians. They would pop us popcorn. We figured out how to plug in our laptops to the SFA little movie theater they have in there. We brought air mattresses. It was a whole ordeal. One weekend we got up to about 50 people, and then SFA security found out and kicked us all out. So now the STEM building closes at 10 o'clock at night. So I always like to tell that story just because it really breaks the ice of how intimidating the STEM building is, but then also encourages students to make their own memories, because you've got a lot of events that SFA puts on, and memories you can go make there, but it's the small things in between that you really don't expect that are just really some of the funnest times you'll have here at SFA.
Right. Well, Callie, thank you so much for coming in and
course.
talking to me today about Jack Walkers and your experience overall.
Thank you so much for having me. It was awesome.
You're so welcome. Stick around after the break where we check out a recap of the SFA football spring game from last weekend. Welcome back to Nac Edition. Over the weekend, SFA football hosted their annual spring game. Alec Reyes is here to give us a recap.
Thanks, Elena. For the first time in 2 years, SFA had the chance and privilege to play a full spring football game, culminating the spring football season. We'll take a look at some clips and highlights from last Saturday's matchup.
With SFA set to begin play in September of this year, The team went through with the tradition of playing their spring game for the first time since 2019. The Lumberjacks didn't have one in 2020 due to COVID-19 shutting down all NCAA events. Before the start of the fall 2020 season, the Southland Conference announced the postponement of fall sports until the spring. Head coach Kobe Carthel and the team opted out of playing in the spring, joining other Southland members Houston Baptist, Abilene Christian, and Central Arkansas in doing so. The Lumberjacks were the only team in the country to play a 10-game schedule, going 6-4, which was their first winning season since 2014 and their first time going undefeated at home since 2013. In addition, all 4 losses for SFA were against Division I FBS opponents. Throughout the college football landscape, spring football games are usually the main event culminating the end of spring football practice. The Lumberjacks have been practicing since returning from spring break and held 15 practice sessions before Saturday's game. Last Saturday, the Lumberjacks were split into 2 teams, purple and white. The white team jumped to an early 7-0 lead, but purple came right back to tie things up at 7 apiece. The white team prevailed as they went up 17-7 going into halftime. At halftime, it recognized both SFA's volleyball and soccer teams, who both won regular season championships in their respective seasons. In addition, there was also a halftime performance put on by SFA's Palm squad, who was fresh off a national championship win. White led 31-14 at the end of the third quarter, but purple wasn't through just yet. They scored 2 unanswered touchdowns with 1:35 left to go in the game, but Coach Carthel blew the whistle to end the game. Fireworks were on display not only during the duration of the contest, but also afterward, as fans could enjoy a fireworks show, get team autographs, and even stick around for a movie on the Jumbotron, which is Disney Pixar's Inside Out.
SFA will kick off the 2021 campaign right here at Homer Bryce Stadium on September 4th against Charleston State. It'll be their first game as members of the Western Athletic Conference. Back to you in the studio, Elena, to talk a little bit about the Oscars.
The awaited 2021 Oscar Sunday has come to an end. Due to the pandemic, the 93rd Academy Awards was a little different this year, but held the same amount of honor and glamour. Instead of being held at the usual Dolby Theater, this year's award show was held at the Los Angeles Union Station in California for social distancing purposes. In the past years, the Academy Awards have gotten a lot of backlash on its lack of diversity and inclusion. This year was the most diverse and inclusive yet, with most of the nominees being a part of the minority. Some of the lucky winners are: for Best Actor in a Leading Role was Anthony Hopkins for his role in The Father. For Best Actress in a Leading Role was Frances McDormand for her role in Nomadland. For Best Director was Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. Zhao has made history, becoming only the second woman to win the Best Director category. And finally, the winner for Best Picture was Nomadland. This year's annual Oscars has made history and will be one to remember. The 94th Academy Awards will be held next year in 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Nac Edition. I'm your host, Elena Barnes, and we'll see you next time.